Well, normally the day after, I do a deeper dive. But there's some other things we need to talk about. What is up, Finn fans? Last night sucked. There's no getting around it, no cutting the fat, no, none of that. Last night sucked. If it wasn't for the horrible offensive performance, it was the cherry on the top with Tua Tagovailoa having a concussion. So, like I said, normally I go into the next day and we do a deeper dive. We kind of look at things and look at the offensive line play and look at what could have been better here, there, and all that other stuff. I'll do that with the film breakdown. Yes, I'm still doing a film breakdown, unfortunately. We'll look at where things fell apart, where we could have done better in the film breakdown. But in this video, we're going to kind of talk about this situation, and it is a situation between the Dolphins and Tua Tagovailoa, and not like a versus type thing, but a thing that they need to figure out. And we're going to read what Mike McDaniel said. We're going to read what some neurologists say. But first, I want you to listen to what Jeff Darlington said.
I understand that we have the post-game scenario there where they're getting the field prepared. So I don't know. Hopefully you can hear me. But the point that I made to Damien a bit ago is that there is a protocol. And if Miami were to follow it and he was okay, and then he plays again, you know how the outside world reacts at this, right? I mean, it's almost like they're like, well, how could you let him play? I mean, and that's where I think that I don't know how reasonable anyone is that's saying that if the protocol is being followed. But Miami is clearly going to be incredibly careful here, aren't they?
Yeah, I think that's what's so hard about this in general, because I know from experience it in 2022, the fallout from the situation with Tua and how they handled it and what they learned from it. But there is no doubt that you're going to see criticism no matter what. I mean, this is a complicated situation, not only for the Miami Dolphins, but for the NFL. And I can tell you, interestingly enough, that Roger Goodell was in attendance tonight, the commissioner of the NFL, when this happened. I mean, we're talking about Tua Tagovailoa's head colliding with Damar Hamlin's chest. Right. And these situations that are very difficult to digest from a public perception standpoint, but one that they have to manage as a business, but also one that's looking out for a human. This is not an easy thing for the Miami Dolphins, and I think that's what I would stress to people that are trying to, whether they're on their couch at home or in this stadium, whether they're trying to diagnose it, whether they're saying Tua should retire or sit out 2 weeks. Mike McDaniel's point in his post-game press conference is, we're going to find out what the diagnosis is, and we're going to go from there. And I think it's complicated, and I certainly don't envy the process.
That's really, really well put. Jeff Darlington.
So, like Jeff Darlington said, it's going to be a process, but the process is not going to be an easy one. And it's not like one where this is Tua's first concussion. So the process is, it's not a bad concussion. He'll miss the Seattle game and he'll be back for the Titans game Monday night. He gets an extra week in a couple days and he'll be good for the Titans game. It's not that type of situation, because this isn't Tua's first concussion, and this isn't Tua's first concussion of this severity, because you saw Tua's arms. You saw I forgot what it's called, but there's a medical term for what happened to his arms because of how severe that concussion was that he got. And this is a situation where Tua and the Miami Dolphins need to sit down and have a conversation after they get medical reports and everything to figure out what the next step is. That being said, Mike McDaniel was at the podium last night. He says it's about getting a proper procedural evaluation, essentially today. We will spend a good amount of time being evaluated. The furthest thing from my mind is what the timeline is. He says about Tua, he said he went around the locker room, talked to his teammates. He said he was in good spirits, which is good to hear. And, maybe he is doing better. Obviously he wasn't taken out on a stretcher like against the Cincinnati Bengals. And, he's in good spirits and stuff, but it still doesn't take away the severity of the situation. Every situation is unique. I'm not worried about anything that's out of my hands. I'm just worried about the human being. He'll drive the ship when we get the appropriate information. Asked if it's safe for Tua to play football again, McDaniel said he's not qualified to answer that because it's not his expertise. Tua sustained the concussion in the third quarter when he tried to run for a first down and he collided with Damar Hamlin's body. According to Amazon coverage, Tua was alert after the game and had full movement of his extremities. After the concussion, he remained in the locker room with his family. McDaniel gave Tua a kiss on the head, and when he left the field, then I think we all kind of saw that. They talked to Skyler Thompson, who entered the game, and he said made him sick, seeing the concussion. Now, this is from doctors. So Chris Nowinski, co-founder and CEO of the Concussion Legacy Foundation, said on social media platform X that Tua suffered a traumatic brain injury on this play, no question. His right arm showed fencing posture, essentially when it kind of sticks out like that, indicating loss of concussion and is on a severe end of the concussion spectrum. He is done for the night and must miss the next game. So by bare minimum from Chris Nowinski, who was part of the Concussion Legacy Foundation, from what he saw without even, going in hands-on, giving Tua some type of physical examination, he ain't playing the Seattle game. And if you think he's playing the Seattle game, if you think he's playing the Titans game, if you think he's playing the Patriot game, you are sadly mistaken, because it's like Jeff Darlington talked about. This now not only is about Tua's mental health, this is now also a PR thing, and they're not going to rush Tua out at all. David Chow, a former Chargers doctor and now media personality, David Chow was the one who also collapsed Tyrod Taylor's lung. We all know Tua had an injury history, concussion history. Each concussion leads to potential easier concussions. Given his history of concussions, worry for multiple week absence. CBS reporter, analyst Kim Bokamper, a former Dolphin player, said he expects Tua to miss 4 to 6 weeks, and that he was close to a wobbly Tua as he left the fields. Again, I predicted if he comes back, it'll be for the Colts game. They're going to put him on IR. He's going to be done. And if he comes back, it'll be the Colts game. Last year, after Tua sustained 2 concussions in 2022 season, the Miami Herald asked 2 concussion experts, Nowinski and Robert Cantu, how the situation should be handled if he had another one. Neither one said retirement would be necessary. One Dr. Cantu said in my 2023 Miami Herald article that he would hold Tua out a bit longer than players who sustained a similar concussion for the first time, but not appropriately longer. But keep in mind, this was a serious concussion that would typically keep any player out multiple weeks. Cantu, the founder of the Concussion Legacy Protocol Foundation and medical doctor and director of clinical research, said concussion clock starts at 0 for Tua in a new season. If you put a great deal of months between concussions, you're more likely to go back to where your baseline is before the stretch of concussions. If he had a fourth overall concussion, that would still be his first of the season. There's no science to say that you should be 2 or 3 weeks more concussions, but common sense would say rest him a little longer than others who experience the type of concussion for the first time. So what he's saying is, the longer you go in between concussions, it kind of resets it. So the fact that Tua played a full year and he's good, like over a year and a half from his last concussion, it's like his brain resetted. But again, it still scares the crap out of you. It still scares the crap out of me. Nowinski in his 2023 Miami Herald article said that concussions tend toward getting more severe with longer recoveries as they add up. But that's not the case for everybody. There's examples of people who appear to have career-ending concussions who return without problems. Tua doesn't have chronic symptoms. That's a good sign. Cantu said also, if blows that do not normally produce symptoms now are producing concussion symptoms, if the intensity is considered less and not expected to procedure symptoms are still producing symptoms, that's a person at a real risk. Overall, when Alec Ingold said it was an unfortunate situation, all of our prayers are out for him. Even Josh Allen and the Bills offensive lineman had some nice things to say, which was pretty cool. it's a football game and there are competitors, but at the end of the day, we're all human beings, and these guys on the field are human beings, fathers, sons, husbands, and they're it transcends the game essentially. Here's my thought process on this, and then we'll go into where do we go from here. I now am at the point, right? Tua played a full year last year, and I was like, all right, good. You know, you forget about it, and you kind of like, all right, Tua should be fine. But now he has now suffered his third concussion. Every time anything happens, we're all going to be holding our breaths. And it's like Jeff Darlington said, it's now a situation where this isn't just is to a healthy situation. It's a PR move from the Miami Dolphins and from the NFL. The NFL dealt with a lot with CTE and with the concussion movie and all that stuff. They dealt with a lot of stuff to the point where Tua, again, now for his second time in 3 years, had a concussion so bad where he had the fencing arms. And it's now a situation where the NFL might step in and talk to Tua and be like, look, you had some severe concussions, because I know Andrew Luck retired. It wasn't concussion based, but he was just beat up. Luke Kuechly retired way early because of concussions. Now, Tua doesn't play the same position, obviously, that Luke Kuechly does, who's a middle linebacker who, you know, is in constant combat and colliding with people, you know, all the time, whereas Tua is protected because he's a quarterback. But it's one of those situations where, you know, they'll get more information today, figure out how severe the concussion is, even though we all know and we saw how severe that concussion looked. And the timetable of his return, which, again, I would be shocked if they don't put him on IR and he's done until after the bye against the Colts. But now we have to think about, right? Let's take the whole should he retire out of the conversation, because it's not up to us. It's up to him. It's up to him. It's up to his family. It's up to him making that decision. At the end of the day, whether I say he should or shouldn't, if he doesn't, he doesn't, and it's not up to us. And he's under contract with the Miami Dolphins minimum until after next year, because again, the way it's built into his contract, they can move on from him after 2025 and they save about 18 something million. I'll pull it up again, because a lot of people are over exaggerating, saying, oh, the Dolphins put themselves in such a hole by giving this guy an extension, when in actuality, again, 2025, if you look at 2026, they move on from him. Actually, they save way more. They save $38.2 million if they cut him 2026. So, you know, he's under contract in 2025. They cut him afterwards. They save $38.2 million. It's a 1-year extension, essentially. And they do have some underlining things in there when it comes to his injuries. I know it becomes fully guaranteed if he's injured or if some type of injury happens in the off season. But overall, they're not strapped to him. Someone commented, we set ourselves back 20 years with this Tua contract. Huh? What? But overall, now we have to think about the next 3-4 games, right? We got our butts whooped by the Buffalo Bills. Even before Tua went out with a concussion, the offense was anemic. The offense was, to me, the problem in that game. You had the 3 turnovers. The defense did as best as they could and stopped them. Punts, field goals, all that stuff. Pick sixes and 3 interceptions at the end of the day is not going to help you when you're facing a team, regardless if they have weapons or not, have Josh Allen at quarterback. So now what do? Do we ride it out with Skyler? Do we activate Mike White off of the practice squad? Not Mike White. It's Tim Boyle. Mike White was on the Buffalo Bills sideline. Tim Boyle. Do we activate Tim Boyle off to the practice squad and run with those 2 guys being our quarterback? Or does Chris Greer realize that his job is in jeopardy and goes out and makes a move? Because there's Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill met with the Athletic Scoop City podcast, and he said, maybe a guy goes down and a team gives me a call. You never know what's going to happen, right? So just keeping that option open, but at the same time, not waiting on pins and needles for that call. I'm enjoying where I'm at, where my life is. You know, if something comes up, that's fantastic. I'll jump wholeheartedly into it, but at the same time, not purely just waiting on that. So there is the possibility of Ryan Tannehill to come back to the Miami Dolphins. But does he fit the system? Would they prefer to have Skyler be the guy because he's now in his third year in the system? My expectations and my faith, let me say this before I go any further. My expectations and my faith in this offense dropped drastically at halftime of this Buffalo Bills game. I thought the offense is going to be what it should be, and we would be worrying about the defense and getting in shootouts. It's the complete opposite. The offense is anemic. The offense is the problem. They can barely score points, barely move the ball. It's a problem. Regardless if you think it's Tua or not, it's a problem. And now you add Skyler Thompson in there, it ain't going to get any better, right? I think I had them going, I think I said they had to do better than 10 wins. They have to do better than 11 wins because you have to be better than you were last year. I said their ceiling was 13 wins. Their basement was like 10, 11. Their basement might be 6 wins. Their ceiling might be 10, 11. If we're lucky, because their offense is just not it. And I don't know what's going on. And it doesn't help that now Teron Armstead and, well, Robert Jones was not good to begin with. Let me not even try to blow smoke up your butts about that one. But, you know, do you have faith in Skyler Thompson to beat the Seattle Seahawks, to beat the Tennessee Titans Monday Night Football? Like, the Bears beat the Titans because of their defense. Caleb Williams did nothing. So, you know, not saying we're going to lose that game, but we should win it. And they got the Patriots. Can Skyler beat those teams? I don't know. From what I've seen, no. But a lot could change. And then Ryan Tannehill, you bring Ryan Tannehill in. How comfortable he is with this system. Can he pick it up quickly? Can he, you know, fit in this system? That is a big question. There's other guys. There's Jimmy Garoppolo, who's with the Rams right now. I think he's suspended for the first 2 games, so I think he can come back. We'd have to trade for him. And no team is going to give us a deal because they know we're desperate and they're not. So they're going to ask for more than they probably would get for a Jimmy Garoppolo. McVay has that connection with Mike McDaniel, so there's that. Also, the offense is similar. Also, Jimmy G ran a similar offense with the 49ers. Jimmy G is not great. Is he better than Skyler? I don't know, but there's that. There's Jameis Winston. But then this came out from Jeremy Fowler talking about a possible benching of Watson. He says, I don't think we're quite there yet to at least think about Watson over the course of the season, possibly because teams may consider every contingency, but the Browns should and probably will give Watson a healthy run to fix this. While I agree that Sunday's performance was unsettling, the Browns were willing without their top 2 offensive tackles, and the Cowboys defense was stifling. Would they give up Jameis Winston? Would they allow a trade for Jameis Winston? It'd be more than you would expect because they're dealing with a Deshaun Watson situation. And then you got Joe Flacco with the Colts. Their quarterback was injured last year. Do they want to give up Flacco? Does Flacco fit in this system? There's so many different questions now surrounding this Miami Dolphin team. And that is where I kept talking about always having a good backup, because you don't want your season to be over. God forbid you lose your starter. And we're trending towards that. And this sucks. You know, when they went out and signed Mike White after Tua did have the concussions, I was like, they should have got Gardner Minshew. They should have went out and got Josh Dobbs. I named off a bunch of different quarterbacks who would be plug in and play, win us some games, but they went with Mike White and Skyler Thompson. Now we're in a situation where we don't know what's going on with Tua. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know what's going on with Tua, but we need to figure the quarterback situation out because it's week 2. We're 1-1. Yes, it sucks we lost to the Bills, but the season isn't over. But it could be if we don't figure out the quarterback situation. And that's where we're at. So what do we do with Tua? What do we do as an organization? That's what they're going to be figuring out in the next couple of days. Good thing they have more than a week to get ready for Seattle, but they need to figure it out. And now, you get the chance, Skyler, he's been working with the ones in training camp, and let's see if he can pull it together, and let's see if he can, get out of here and play some football. But I don't know. Comment below. Let me know what you think about this whole situation. I know a lot of you guys think the season's over. I know a lot of you guys. There's the little crowd that was like. There's some people who were happy that Tua got hurt, and those people are disgusting to me. I'm sorry. And people who are like, "Oh, thoughts and prayers to Tua, and I hope Tua's okay," but you're just horrible. If you throw a "but" at the end of that, "but I told you so," or "but I knew it," or "but Tua," like, why? Why are you the way you are? Like, why? Like, the man is dealing with something that is career threatening again, and you're out here being like, "Oh, I was right. Our team's gonna go down the toilet. People should listen to me sitting on my couch." Like, stop. But comment below, let me know what you guys think. I will see you, I think, tomorrow at the film breakdown. If not tomorrow, the day after. But like usual, and I think maybe Sunday I will recap. Being that the Dolphins aren't playing, I'll kind of recap what happened in football. But like usual, stay classy. Offense up.